Hey, what's up, Magic players? Scott here from MTG MindGames, and today I'm going to be bringing you guys a Tiny Leader deck tech with Ragnar from Legends. Ragnar is a Bant commander. He's a summon legend. 2/2, that's blue, white, and green. He has the ability blue, white, green, tap, regenerate target creature. And his flavor text says, on the field of honor, a soldier need have no fear. Alright, we'll dive right into the deck tech. And you can find a link to the deck tech on tappedout.net in the description, as well as a list of all the cards in the deck. First, we're going to start with our lands. First up, we've got Windswept Heath and Flooded Strand as our fetch lands. We've got Celestial Colonnade. Celestial Colonnade enters the battlefield tapped, taps for a blue or white, and has the ability to turn into a 4/4 white-blue elemental creature with flying and vigilance. This is one of our secondary win conditions in the deck, where you can attack with man lands. Then we have Glacial Fortress, Sunpetal Grove, a newer card, Mana Confluence. If I had a City of Brass, I would probably play the City of Brass over Mana Confluence just out of nostalgia, just because City of Brass is nostalgic to like older Magic style sets. You'll see Ragnar is primarily just this is my pride and joy as far as just being like a fun deck to play out of paying homage to Magic the Gathering's classical tropes as far as like sets like Homelands, Ice Age, and some of the more crazy legacy style things in Magic. Then we have, next up we have Gavany Township. This will allow us to put 1/1 counters on all of our creatures as at an instant speed effect. We have a Shockland, Breeding Pool. Counts as both forest and island, which is most important. You can search these up with your fetch lands. Then we have Hollowed Fountain. So we have plains and island here. Then we have Temple Garden, forest and plains. Stirring Wildwood. Stirring Wildwood reads, enters the battlefield tapped, taps for a green or white, and you can pay a green and a white until end of turn. Stirring Wildwoods becomes a 3/4 green and white elemental creature with reach. Seaside Citadel. This will tap for all of our mana, all of our Bant colors. Fairy Conclave. Fairy Conclave is one of our go-to man lands, apart from Celestial Colonnade because it has flying. The evasion is going to let us hit with some of our cards a little easier. Then we have Treetop Village. Treetop Village enters the battlefield tapped, taps for a green. Colorless green Treetop Village becomes a 3/3 green ape creature with trample until end of turn. Then we have just one of each basic land. So we have island, forest, and a plains. Next up we have our enchantments and artifacts. So first up we have Oblivion Ring, 2 colorless and a white enchantment. When Oblivion Ring enters a battlefield or enters play, remove another target non-land permanent from the game. When Oblivion Ring leaves play, return the removed card to play under its owner's control. Armadillo Cloak, 1 colorless green and a white. It's enchant creature aura. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and has trample. Whenever enchanted creature deals damage, you gain that much life. So this is a pseudo lifelink. Favor of the Overbeing, 1 colorless and a Simic mana symbol. Enchant creature aura. As long as enchanted creature is green, it gets +1/+1 and has vigilance. As long as enchanted creature is blue, it gets +1/+1 and has flying. So Ragnar is obviously blue and white and green. So all of these enchantments are going to be able to give him both buffs. Then we have Shield of the Oversoul, 2 colorless and a Selesnya mana symbol. Enchant creature aura. As long as enchanted creature is green, it gets +1/+1 and is indestructible. As long as enchanted creature is white, it gets +1/+1 and has flying. And finally we have Steel of the Godhead, 2 colorless and an Azorius mana symbol. Enchant creature aura. As long as enchanted creature is white, it gets +1/+1 and has lifelink. And as long as enchanted creature is blue, it gets +1/+1 and has unblockable. Next up we have Oblivion Stone, 3 colorless artifact. You can pay 4 colorless, tap it, put a fate counter on target permanent. Pay 5 colorless, tap it, sacrifice Oblivion Stone, destroy each non-land permanent without a fate counter on it. Then remove all fate counters from all permanents. So this is our Tiny Leader Wrath effect. Then we have Sensei's Divining Top, 1 colorless artifact. You can pay a colorless, look at the top 3 cards of your library, then put them back in any order. You can tap Sensei's Divining Top to draw a card, then put the top on top of its owner's library. So a lot of topping. We have 2 swords here. First up we've got a Judge promo, Sword of Light and Shadow. It's coming through a little dark, but try and get a good picture of it for you guys. Alright, so Sword of Light and Shadow is 3 colorless. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has protection from white and from black. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you gain 3 life and you may return up to 1 target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Equipped cost is 2. And finally we have a Judge promo, Sword of Fire and Ice. 3 colorless. Sword of Fire and Ice reads, artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has protection from red and from blue. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, Sword of Fire and Ice deals 2 damage to target creature or player, and you draw a card. Equipped cost is 2. Alright, next up we're going to go over our spells and planeswalkers. First up we have Preordain. Preordain is a single blue sorcery, scry 2, then draw a card. Next up we've got Brainstorm, single blue, instant, draw 3 cards, then put 2 cards from your hand on the top of your library in any order. Ponder, single blue sorcery, look at the top 3 cards of your library, then put them back in any order. You may shuffle your library, draw a card. Remand, 1 colorless and a blue, instant, counter target spell. If that spell is countered this way, put it into its owner's hand instead of into the player's graveyard. Draw a card. Path to Exile, single white, instant, remove target creature from the game. Its controller may search his or her library for a basic land card, put that card into play tapped, then shuffle his or her library. Swords to Plowshares, single white, instant. Target creature is removed from the game entirely. Creature's controller gains life points equal to the creature's power. So this is going to work like a Path to Exile, but instead they're going to gain life equal to the creature's power. Now our first Planeswalker, we have Ajani, Caller of the Pride, a single colorless and 2 white. Planeswalker Ajani, for +1, you can put a 1/1 counter on up to 1 target creature. -3, target creature gains flying and double strike until end of turn. And -8, put X 2/2 white cat creature tokens onto the battlefield where X is your life total. And Ajani starts with 4 loyalty. And our other Planeswalker is going to be Jace Beleren. We have single colorless and double blue. Planeswalker Jace, +2, each player draws a card. -1, target player draws a card. And -10, target player puts the top 20 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. And Jace starts with 3 loyalty. Next up, we've got our creatures. First up, we have Heliod's Pilgrim, 2 colorless and a white, creature human cleric. It's a 1/2. When Heliod's Pilgrim enters the battlefield, you may search your library for an aura card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. So this is our Stoneforge Mystic for auras. It's really going to help us get one of the 3 auras that can attach to Ragnar to make him pretty much unkillable. Then we have Mother of Runes. Mother of Runes is a single white summon cleric. It's a 1/1. You can tap her. Target creature you control gains protection from the color of your choice until end of turn. Next up we have Stoneforge Mystic, a colorless and a white. Creature, Core Artificer. She's a 1/2. When Stoneforge Mystic enters the battlefield, you may search your library for an equipment card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. You can pay a colorless and a white, tap, and you may put an equipment card from your hand onto the battlefield. So this is a way to get our swords. Next up we have Courser of Kruphix. 1 colorless, green. Enchantment Creature Centaur. It's a 2/4. You play with the top card of your library revealed. You may play the top card of your library if it's a land card, and whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. Then we have Scavenging Ooze. 1 colorless and a green. It's a 2/2, creature ooze. You can pay a green, exile target card from a graveyard. If it was a creature card, you put a 1/1 counter on Scavenging Ooze, and you gain 1 life. Okay. Next up we have Eternal Witness. 1 colorless, green. Creature, human shaman. It's a 2/1. When Eternal Witness enters the battlefield, you may return target card from your graveyard to your hand. Then we have Den Protector. 1 colorless and a green. It's a 2/1. Creature, human warrior. Creatures with power less than Den Protector's power can't block it. It has Megamorph for a colorless and a green. Megamorph, as many of you know, is the new morph ability that adds a 1/1 counter to the creature when it is unmorphed. And when Den Protector is turned face up, return target card from a graveyard to your hand. So this is sort of like our second Eternal Witness. Next up we have Vendilion Clique. 1 colorless, blue. Legendary creature, fairy wizard. Has flash and flying. It's a 3/1. And when Vendilion Clique enters the battlefield, look at target player's hand. You may choose a non-land card from it. If you do, that player reveals the chosen card, puts it on the bottom of his or her library, then draws a card. It's a little bit of hand manipulation here. Next up we have Spellskite. This is really going to help us with our Ragnar Voltroning out. Spellskite reads, it's a 2 colorless, 0/4 artifact creature horror. You can pay a Phyrexian blue. Change a target of target spell or ability to target Spellskite. Really strong in protecting your creatures. Next up we have Qasali Pridemage. Green and a white. Creature, cat, wizard. Has Exalted. And Exalted is whenever the creature attacks alone, that creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. You can pay 1, sacrifice Qasali Pridemage to destroy target artifact or enchantment, and Qasali Pridemage is a 2/2. I love this artwork. Next up we have Knight of the Reliquary. 1 colorless, green-white. It's a creature, human knight as a 2/2, and Knight of the Reliquary gets +1/+1 for each land card in your graveyard. You can tap it, sacrifice a forest or plains to search your library for a land card, and put it into the battlefield or into play. Then shuffle your library. Next up we have Voice of Resurgence. For a green and a white, it's a creature elemental, 2/2. Whenever an opponent casts a spell during your turn, or when Voice of Resurgence dies, put a green and white elemental creature token onto the battlefield with, quote, this creature's power and toughness are each equal to the number of creatures you control. This card can get out of hand really quick if your opponent is playing counter spells or burn spells on your turn. Next up we have Shardless Agent. For 1 colorless, green, and a blue, artifact creature human rogue has Cascade and it's a 2/2. So Shardless Agent is really going to help us get into either a removal spell or an enchantment or an aura that we can play for free. It's just going to be good inadvertent card advantage. Next up we have Hanna, Ship's Navigator. 1 colorless, white, and a blue. Legendary creature, human artificer. It's a 1/2, and you can pay a colorless, white, and a blue, tap, return target artifact or enchantment card from your graveyard to your hand. So Hanna is really the main power behind the throne, really. You know, if Ragnar was the king of the deck, Hanna would be the queen. As tacky as that sounds. Just because all of our removal and all of our interaction with Ragnar is going to be an artifact or an enchantment, and Hanna really lets us get everything back if something were to happen to Ragnar. If a wrath effect or something like that happens, and with our Den Protectors and Eternal Witnesses, we can really go back into our graveyard and just pick things back up where we left off. And finally, we have Jenara, Asura of War. Green, white, blue. Legendary creature Angel. She's a 3/3 flying. You can pay to put a 1/1 counter on Jenara, Asura of War. Now, this is the straightforward Bant commander that most people go for. Of course, we're trying to do something a little more fun, and we're trying to play Ragnar. Ragnar is from Legends, and when I first got my hands on Ragnar, he was only like $4 near mint on TCG Player. There was a recent spike where he got bought out on TCG Player, and he ended up hitting somewhere around, I want to say he hit 45 and 50, which just made him explode, and then people started relisting him, and he settled back down around 25. So Ragnar is currently sitting around $24 or $25. And it's just funny because he really doesn't do anything other than regenerate target creature, and I know that's, you know, it's still good. It's still a really good ability, but let's all be honest. You know, a 2/2 for 3 mana that there are 3 unique colors, and he doesn't really do anything other than look cool. Yeah, it's just funny. It's definitely been my pride and joy, and if any of you are Vikings fans, I really love the show, and this has been. Ragnar has allowed me to build a deck based around the show and just make some crazy deck. It's kind of my pet deck. Alright guys, we're going to talk about our sideboard. So in Tiny Leader you get a 50-card deck, so that was our 50-card deck, and then we get our 10-card sideboard. These aren't really tested cards, but these are cards that I want to run in my sideboard just to give my deck resilience against strategies that my friends play. I already know that these cards will fit really well in my deck against whoever I might play up against. So here we got our first card is Nature's Claim. Nature's Claim is a single green, and it's an instant. Destroy target artifact or enchantment its controller gains 4 life. So we don't care if they gain life. We just want to be able to get rid of you know, a stasis or something crazy. All right. Next up we have Feldon's Cane. For any of those blue mages trying to mill us out, it is hard to just happen to draw Feldon's Cane, but hopefully you get it in your opening hand and you're able to put it out there, or you can sandbag it or slow roll it. Feldon's Cane is a colorless artifact. You can tap it, remove Feldon's Cane from the game, and shuffle your graveyard into your library. So this will give you more time and let you buy back your deck, basically. Next up we have Ratchet Bomb. Ratchet Bomb is 2 colorless. It's an artifact. You can tap, put a charge counter on Ratchet Bomb, and then you can also tap, sacrifice Ratchet Bomb, destroy each non-land permanent with converted mana cost each equal to the charge counters on Ratchet Bomb. So if you put charge counters for 1, you're going to be able to blow up, everything. If you put no charge counters on Ratchet Bomb, you just play it and tap it and sacrifice it, you'll kill all tokens. So if someone's running, token elf deck or token goblins, you can blow up their board with this. It's really nice. Then we have a touch of some counter spells. First up, we've got Mental Misstep. So it's Phyrexian Blue, instant, counter target spell with converted mana cost 1. And we have Spell Snare. It's a blue and an instant counter target spell with converted mana cost 2. So, what better counter spells other than obviously Remand or just straight up counterspell. We aren't running counterspell just because I feel it's too hard to hit the double blue on the turns that you actually want to hit counterspell. Next up we have Warmth. It's a colorless and a white enchantment. Whenever target opponent successfully casts a red spell, gain 2 life. Now this is just cruel and unusual, so if someone's playing a red deck, even if they're not playing burn, this can get out of hand really quick, and especially since red doesn't usually have a way to get rid of enchantments. The 2 enchantments that we're running for our hate against red are just kind of mean, especially since we have Hanna to bring them back, an Eternal Witness, so if they do happen to blow up the board in any way, we can always just bring them back. Then we have Sanctimony. It's a colorless and a white enchantment. Whenever one of your opponents taps a mountain for mana, you may gain 1 life. So this is a little more obscure. If your opponents are playing, non-basic lands don't count as mountains, obviously. But if someone just happens to play, a mono red budget version or something like that, as they're playing their spells, you're just going to start gaining a ton of life. It's just ridiculous. And finally, we have Core Firewalker, double white, creature, core soldier, protection from red. Whenever a player casts a red spell, you may gain 1 life, and he's a 2/2. So our hate for red is pretty brutal. Next up, we have a couple of different runners for the deck. The deck has certain creatures that you really want to Voltron up, and this being one of them. We have Mirran Crusader. He's a colorless and 2 white. Creature Human Knight, 2/2 double strike with protection from black and from green. The downside is that we can't enchant him with some of our enchantments. That's why we don't run him in the main board. But you can still, slap a sword on him and attack into, whatever Golgari deck that you're playing against, and they won't be able to block. And finally, we have Fiendslayer Paladin, 1 colorless, white, creature Human Knight. He's a 2/2 with first strike and lifelink, and Fiendslayer Paladin can't be the target of black or red spells your opponents control. Alright, Magic players, thank you for watching our deck tech on Ragnar Tiny Leader. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below, like and subscribe to the channel. We have giveaways, pack openings, deck techs like this, as well as budget standard, and I'm going to be bringing you guys a modern deck tech pretty soon here on a couple different brews that I have for modern. We also have a giveaway contest going on right now on the channel for the contents of a Modern Masters booster box, as well as a foil Deathmiss Raptor for you standard players. And like I said previously, I'm going to end up just adding more cards to that prize pool, so it's going to get better and better and better as time goes on, you guys. Definitely tell your friends and tell everyone about it, because technically, no one can win until everyone wins, until we all hit that 500 mark and we finally get a name for MTG MindGames through the community. Be sure to check out our time-lapse video art and the Wake the Dead podcast going up on mtgcast.com. This has been Scott with MTG MindGames saying peace.